In this class, I want to talk about how the size of a business determines its profitability, determines its success or its failure. So by scale, we mean size, the size of the business. The size of a firm may be measured in different ways according to the criteria being used. So it's very difficult right from the outset, before we even start this video, it's difficult to measure the size of a business. There are different criteria that we can apply. And depending on what we're talking about, we might get a different figure. So we could, for example, look at the size of the business being determined by the size of its workforce. But maybe it's a high-tech business with a lot of computers and high-tech equipment. So the asset value of the business might be better than the number of workers to measure the value of the business. It could be measured perhaps by the share of the market, or the size of its sales, or the extent of its product range. How many items does it make? It depends on what we're talking about. We can get different figures for the size of a business. So we have to be clear about what we want, and we have to specify that the business is big as measured by, and then say how it's been measured. We can't just say it's a big business or a small business. It could vary depending on these factors. Economies of size, economies of scale in other words. There are three possibilities. Increasing returns to scale. As a business gets bigger, it becomes more efficient. Decreasing returns to scale. As a business gets bigger, it becomes more inefficient. Or constant returns to scale. As it gets bigger, its returns or its profitability grows with it. It becomes more efficient in line with its growth. So there are three ways of measuring the size of a business. Scale, we mean size. Increasing returns to scale, increasing returns to size, decreasing returns to size, and constant return to size. First of all, let's look at increasing returns to scale. Now, I'll put the cursor on the screen for a second. Okay, I use this little triangle, which means delta. So delta means the change in. Whenever you see a little triangle like that in front of something, it normally means the change in. So that's the change in output, O for output, the change in output. Just read it as change in. And that's divided by the change in investment or inputs or whatever we're measuring. I think in this case we're saying inputs. So it's the change in inputs. So it's the change in output divided by the change in inputs. Now if that's greater than 1, in other words, we're getting more output for certain amounts of inputs. As the inputs grow, outputs grow even more so. They're even bigger than the percentage increase in the inputs. Percentage increase in the inputs might be 5% and the output here might be 10%, greater than 1. So that's an increasing return to scale. It could be we have decreasing returns to scale. As the business gets bigger, it becomes perhaps more inefficient, more difficult to control. Costs rise very rapidly because the business is out of control. The managers are not able to cope. The business is too big. Could be. So in this case, the percentage change in the output divided by the percentage change in the inputs is less than 1. That's decreasing returns to scale. And of course, the last one, quite obviously, is constant returns to scale. That's where, let's say, the inputs grow by 10%, but outputs grow by 10% as well. So 10% divided by 10% is 1. And that's a special case called constant returns to scale. As the business grows, so its output grows as well. Perhaps its profitability grows. Depends on how we're measuring it. And that's how we measure the size of a business. Now I'm clipping in some more notes here, which I'm going to just run over very quickly with you. and then leave them with you. If you want to have them, you can come back and get this video and freeze the frame, and just copy these out if you want. There are 3 examples of economies of scale I want to bring to your notice. Bulk purchasing discounts. So as a business gets bigger, it may get bigger discounts from its suppliers because they don't want to lose a big customer. It could be have specialized labor. As the business gets bigger, it's able to employ specialist workers, or it's able to train its workforce to do specialist tasks. And also, of course, it's able to spread out its fixed costs over a bigger number of units. So I'll leave you to look at that yourself. Go back, and if you wanted, go back, open the video and freeze the frame. There are also, I say 3 examples here. I think I'm giving more than 3. It looks like significantly more than 3, but never mind. Diseconomies of scale in this case. These are, as the business gets bigger, it becomes more inefficient. It's more difficult to communicate and coordinate because it's bigger. More time is taken up in meetings and in trying to get everybody to pull together and move in the same direction. Difficult to control. Difficult to have management oversight. Difficult for the management to know exactly what's happening. The company is too big. There are logistical inefficiencies, which I won't go through. They're written out here, so you can go back and get them anytime you want. And diseconomies of scale at the plant level. It could be expanding the output from one location eventually leads to rising marginal costs if not managed correctly. For example, too many workers in a facility can get in each other's way. The business is too big. And there could be bureaucratic costs as well. As the business gets bigger, it becomes more bureaucratic, more issues with control and HR issues and accounting, and more need for control. So that may be a diseconomy of scale as well. As I said, these last 2 slides, go back over them later on if you want. Just freeze them and have a look at them, or make your own notes. I think they're very straightforward. But that's all we're going to deal with in this video, so let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.